The massive hall floated in space above the Veltari capital world. Inside, representatives from 847 species filled the chamber. Their voices echoed off crystalline walls as they discussed trade routes and territorial claims. At the back of the room, 3 humans sat in plain chairs. They wore simple gray uniforms, while aliens around them displayed elaborate armor and glowing robes. Captain Minho Park kept his face calm. He had learned this skill over many years of dealing with the galaxy's older civilizations. Next to him sat Dr. Yuna Choi, her tablet displaying research that could change everything. On his other side, diplomat Hajun Kim adjusted his glasses and prepared to speak once more. The High Chancellor Cormix raised his scaled hand. The room fell silent. His reptilian eyes swept across the assembly before settling on the human delegation. "The creatures from Earth wish to address us again," Cormix announced. Laughter rippled through the hall. They believe their 50 years among civilized species grants them equality. Hajun stood slowly. He walked to the center platform where a spotlight illuminated him. Around the circular room, hundreds of eyes watched with amusement. "Honored representatives," Hajun began. "Earth requests voting rights in this assembly. We have followed every protocol. We have paid every fee. We have demonstrated our capability to contribute to galactic society." A delegate from the Norvan Collective clicked its mandibles. "Your species lives barely 100 years. We make decisions that span millennia. What can you possibly contribute? Your faster-than-light drives are 3 generations behind current technology," added a floating, "das being from Sector 9. You travel between stars like children learning to walk." Counselor Treshvan of the Veltari Empire stood. He was tall and elegant, with golden skin that shimmered under the lights. His voice carried authority and contempt in equal measure. "Let us be honest," Treshvan said. "Humans are weak. Your bones break easily. Your reaction times are slow. You require specific atmospheric conditions to survive. You cannot even see in multiple spectrums naturally. Why should such a primitive species have equal say in matters affecting advanced civilizations?" More laughter filled the chamber. Some delegates didn't even bother to hide their mocking expressions. Minho watched carefully. He noticed which species laughed loudest. He memorized which delegates showed the most contempt. His mind filed away every insult like weapons in an armory. Yuna stood and approached the platform. She carried a projection device. "If I may," she said quietly, "I would like to present our research on dimensional folding technology. We believe we have made a breakthrough that could revolutionize faster-than-light travel." "The human thinks she can teach us about dimensional physics," someone called out. The chamber erupted in amusement. Cormix didn't even let her activate the projector. "Your theoretical nonsense is not welcome here. We have actual business to conduct." Yuna returned to her seat. Her jaw was tight, but she showed no other emotion. Minho reached over and squeezed her hand once, a small gesture of solidarity. The voting commenced quickly. The question was simple. Should Earth receive full voting rights in the Galactic Assembly? The results appeared on displays throughout the chamber. 846 votes against. 1 vote in favor from a small species that barely had a voice themselves. Treshvan smiled widely. "The Assembly has spoken, but we are not without mercy." He gestured grandly. "We propose that Earth be designated a protectorate. This means we will supervise your development, guide your immature civilization, protect you from making dangerous mistakes." "We don't need protection," Minho said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber. "Of course you do," Treshvan replied. "You don't even understand how much you need it. This is for your own good." Hajun stepped forward again. "I want to say something before we leave." "Make it quick," Cormix said. "We have important matters to discuss." Hajun looked around the chamber slowly. He made eye contact with as many delegates as possible. When he spoke, his voice was gentle, but something in his tone made a few representatives shift uncomfortably. In Earth's history, many powerful groups made the mistake of underestimating others. They judged by appearance, by technology, by lifespan. This has never ended well for those who were so certain of their superiority. He paused. "I hope this galaxy is wiser than that." A few delegates exchanged glances. Most simply looked bored. "Is that a threat?" Treshvan asked with amusement. "It's a historical observation," Hajun said. "Nothing more." "How charming," Treshvan replied. "The primitive species tries to teach us history. We were building empires when your ancestors were living in caves. The laughter returned. It followed the humans as they left the chamber. In the corridor outside, Una finally let her frustration show. They didn't even look at the research. Dimensional folding could give them jump capabilities beyond anything they have. They're not interested in what we can offer, Minho said. They're interested in keeping us beneath them. Hajun removed his glasses and cleaned them slowly. The assembly has made its position clear. Now Earth must make its decision. They boarded their small transport ship. As they departed the station, Minho watched the massive assembly hall shrink behind them. He thought about the faces he had seen, the laughter, the contempt. He thought about Treshivan's smug expression. Record everything from today, Minho said to their AI. Every delegate who laughed, every species that voted against us, every insult that was spoken, Minho, Hajun said carefully. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that we gave peace a chance, Minho replied. We tried diplomacy. We followed their rules. We asked nicely. He turned from the window. And they humiliated us in front of the entire galaxy. Una looked up from her tablet. Earth's been preparing for this possibility, haven't they? Minho nodded slowly. Since first contact, the military has been building, researching, planning, just in case the galaxy proved to be hostile. He looked at both of them. I think we have our answer now. The transport jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, the Galactic Assembly continued its session. Delegates discussed mining rights and trade disputes. They had already forgotten about the 3 humans who had asked for respect. One decision was made before the session ended. Earth would now be required to pay tribute to maintain basic trade access, resources, technology, whatever the Assembly demanded. It was presented as a fee for the privilege of protection. When news of this reached Earth 3 weeks later, the response was immediate. Every human government agreed on one thing. The time for asking was over. In the solar system, hidden shipyards began their final production runs. Soldiers received their orders. Scientists completed their last calculations. And humanity prepared to teach the galaxy a lesson that would echo across the stars for generations to come. They had underestimated Earth for too long. Soon the sky would turn dark above their worlds, one world at a time, and they would understand their mistake. 6 months had passed since the humiliation at the Galactic Assembly. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, military leaders gathered around a holographic display. The room was cold, and the lights were dim. Admiral Jiwan Lee stood. At the head of the table, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, her eyes showed the weight of command and something else. Determination. The Assembly rejected our final tribute shipment, she said. They destroyed it publicly as a lesson in humility. They broadcast it across every civilized world. Around the table, generals and admirals from every Earth nation sat in silence. They had all seen the footage, a Veltari warship casually obliterating the cargo vessels. The message was clear. Know your place. Then we're agreed, said General Marcus Webb from the North American Federation. The Eclipse Protocol moves forward. Admiral Jiwan nodded. I want to be clear about what this means. We're not just starting a war. We're announcing to the entire galaxy that humanity will no longer accept their contempt. Minho Park entered the room. He had been recalled from diplomatic service 3 months earlier. Now he wore a military uniform with the rank of captain. He took his seat at the table. The Veltari have increased patrols along our colony routes, Minho reported. They're harassing our civilian ships, boarding them, confiscating cargo. They claim it's for our protection. How many ships have we lost? Admiral G1 asked. 17 in the last month. No casualties yet, but they're getting bolder. Across the solar system, other meetings were taking place. On Luna Base, Dr. Una Choi stood in a laboratory that officially didn't exist. Around her, Earth's best scientists worked on projects that would have seemed like fantasy just years before. The dimensional fold drives are ready, Una said to her team. We've completed testing on all 63 prototypes. The success rate is 98%. A younger scientist named Dr. Rena Song looked up from her console. The galaxy thinks dimensional folding is theoretical. They have no idea we've been doing it for 3 years. That's the advantage of being underestimated, Una replied. They stopped paying attention to our research because they assumed we were too primitive to accomplish anything meaningful. In orbit around Jupiter, engineer Doyen Han inspected the latest vessel to roll out of the hidden shipyards. The shipyards had been built inside hollowed-out asteroids. From the outside, they looked like mining operations. Inside, they were the most advanced construction facilities humanity had ever created. The ship in front of Doyen was sleek and dark. It was a third the size of a standard Veltari cruiser, but every system had been optimized for speed and precision. It didn't need to be big. It needed to be fast and deadly. Beautiful, Doyen said softly. The Phantom class, ghost gray hull plating that absorbs sensor sweeps, dimensional fold drives for instantaneous tactical jumps, weapon systems that phase through standard shielding. He smiled. The galaxy is going to be very surprised. His assistant, a young engineer named Kira Nam, checked her tablet. We have 473 ships ready, another 200 in final assembly. The fleet will be complete in 2 weeks. Admiral Jiwan wants them ready in 10 days, Doyen said. Then we work faster, Kira replied simply. On Earth's moon, in a facility marked as a mining operation, Commander Soman Bay trained her special operations teams. These weren't regular soldiers. They were humanity's elite. Each one had undergone enhancements that pushed human capability to its absolute limit. Your cybernetics are subtle, Soman told the assembled teams. No obvious modifications, but your reaction times are now 3 times faster than baseline human. Your strength is increased by 40%. Your eyes can see in multiple spectrums. And your neural implants allow for instant communication with each other and our AI systems. She walked between the rows of soldiers. When we deploy, you will infiltrate enemy facilities. You will disable their defenses. You will do it without being detected until it's too late. The galaxy thinks humans are weak and slow. You will show them how wrong they are. A soldier named Lieutenant Hyun Kang raised his hand. He was young, barely 25, but he had proven himself in simulations again and again. Commander, what if they surrender quickly? What if they realize how outmatched they are? Soman considered the question. Then we accept their surrender. This operation isn't about genocide. It's about respect. We hurt them enough to make them understand. Then we stop. Back on Earth, in the command bunker, Admiral Jiwan activated a secure channel. Minho's face appeared on the screen. Captain Park, I'm authorizing you to send one final message to the Galactic Assembly. Let them know what's coming. Minho nodded. What should I say? The truth, Admiral Jiwan replied. That they've mistaken our patience for weakness, that there will be consequences for their actions. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Minho recorded the message from his quarters. He sat in front of a camera with Earth visible through a window behind him. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. Members of the Galactic Assembly, he began. For 50 years, humanity has sought peaceful integration into galactic society. We have followed your rules. We have paid your fees. We have endured your mockery and your contempt. We have shown patience because we believed in the possibility of mutual respect. He paused and leaned forward slightly. You have destroyed that possibility. You have mistaken our patience for weakness. You have confused our desire for peace with an inability to wage war. This was your error, not ours. His voice dropped lower. Correction incoming. The message was transmitted through official channels. It reached the Galactic Assembly within hours. In the Great Hall, Councillor Treshevan watched the recording with amusement. Around him, other delegates laughed at the human's words. Correction incoming, Treshevan repeated mockingly. How adorable. The primitive species is angry. He waved dismissively. Increase patrols in human space. If they want to throw a tantrum, we'll teach them proper behavior. High Chancellor Cormix agreed. Humanity needs to learn their place. Perhaps we've been too gentle with them. None of them understood what was actually coming. They couldn't imagine that the species they had mocked possessed capabilities beyond their own. They had made their assessments based on human physiology and outdated technology. They had never, considered that humans might be hiding their true strength. On Luna base, Yuna completed the final calculations. All ships are equipped with the new drives. All weapon systems are online. All personnel are in position. In Jupiter orbit, Doyen watched the last ship emerge from the construction bay. Fleet assembly complete. All vessels reporting ready status. In the training facility, Soman addressed her teams one last time. You know your targets. You know your objectives. When we deploy, we move with precision. No unnecessary casualties. We're not monsters. We're just done being treated like children. Admiral Jiwan stood in the command center watching data streams from across the solar system. Every piece was in place. 50 years of preparation was about to be tested. All units report ready, an officer announced. All commanders are standing by, another added. Admiral Jiwan took a deep breath. This was the moment. This was when humanity stepped out of the shadows and showed the galaxy who they really were. Send the order, she said quietly. Operation Eclipse begins in 72 hours. All teams to their jump points, all ships to deploy to their designated targets. Across human space, fleets began to move. They slipped out of hidden bases. They emerged from behind moons and asteroids where they had been waiting. Silent, dark, ready. The galaxy continued its business, unaware of what was coming. The Veltari increased their harassment of human ships. The assembly discussed expanding the tribute requirements. They believed they had broken humanity's spirit. In 72 hours, they would discover how catastrophically wrong they had been. The Veltari system of Karis had 3 habitable worlds and one of the largest military shipyards in the Empire. On the primary world, citizens went about their daily activities without concern. Their military was strong. Their shields were impenetrable. They had nothing to fear from the primitive humans. At exactly midnight station time, the sky above Karis Prime began to change. Ships materialized in orbit. Not gradually like normal, faster-than-light arrivals. Instantly. One moment the space around the planet was empty. The next moment 200 human vessels surrounded the world. They were arranged in perfect formation, blocking out sections of the starfield. The Veltari defense systems activated immediately. Alarms screamed across military channels. Shields powered up around orbital stations. Weapon platforms came online and targeted the human ships. On the flagship Indomitable, Captain Minho Park stood on the bridge watching the planet below. Around him, officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. This was the moment they had trained for. Defensive systems are locking onto us, reported Lieutenant Jisoo Park at the weapons console. Let them lock, Minho said. Commence jamming protocol. The human ships activated systems the Veltari had never encountered. Their targeting sensors went haywire. Lock indicators flickered and failed. The human vessels seemed to be in multiple places at once. They're trying to target us, Jisoo reported. But our dimensional fluctuation is confusing their systems. They can't get a solid lock. Fire a warning shot, Minho ordered. Disable their primary orbital defense platform. No casualties. A beam of focused energy lanced from the Indomitable. It struck the defense platform's power core with surgical precision. The massive station went dark. Its weapons powered down. Its shields collapsed. All within 3 seconds. On the surface of Karis Prime, citizens looked up at the darkened sky. The human ships were positioned to block out starlight above major population centers. Artificial night had fallen in the middle of the day. The psychological impact was immediate and intentional. Commander Somin Bey led her team through the ventilation systems of the Planetary Defense Headquarters. Her soldiers moved in perfect silence. Their enhancements made them faster and stronger than any Veltari guard. Their cybernetic eyes saw in spectrums the aliens couldn't detect. Main control room ahead. Sumin whispered into her neural comm. 4 guards. Standard energy weapons. No enhanced capabilities detected. Disable them quietly, she ordered. No lethal force unless necessary. Her team moved like shadows. The guards never saw them coming. Within seconds, all 4 were unconscious on the floor. Someone accessed the main terminal and connected a data spike. Control, we're in, she reported. Uploading override codes now. On the Indomitable, Minho received the signal. Ground teams have disabled planetary defenses. All shield generators are under our control. In space above the other two Veltari worlds in the system, similar operations were underway. Admiral Ji-Wan Lee commanded the overall operation from her flagship Defiant, positioned at the system's edge. All targets secured, she reported to Earth Command. 0 human casualties. Minimal enemy casualties. We have complete control of the Keras system. Across the galaxy, this scene repeated itself in 11 other systems. Human fleets appeared simultaneously above Veltari worlds. The coordination was perfect. The execution was flawless. Within 4 hours, 12 major Veltari systems were under human control. On the Veltari homeworld, Counselor Treshavan received the reports with disbelief. His scaled face showed shock and anger in equal measure. Impossible, he said. Our sensors would have detected fleet movements. Our defenses are impenetrable. Sir, they're using technology we don't understand, his military advisor said. Their ships appear and disappear instantaneously. Our weapons can't target them effectively, and somehow they've bypassed our shields. Treshavan slammed his fist on the table. Assemble the Armada. Every available ship. We'll crush these insects. The Veltari Armada was legendary, 5,000 warships, each one a kilometer long, heavily armed and shielded. They had never lost a major engagement. Treshavan himself would lead them into battle. The Armada gathered at Keras Expanse, the traditional mustering point for Veltari military operations. Treshavan stood on the bridge of his flagship watching his fleet assemble. Pride filled his chest. These humans would learn the price of defying the Empire. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Take us into the Keras system, Treshavan ordered. We'll destroy every human vessel we find. The Armada jumped to faster than light speed. When they emerged in the Keras system, they found the human fleet waiting for them. 200 small ships against 5,000 massive cruisers. The odds seemed ridiculous. They actually stayed to fight, Treshavan said with amusement. How admirably stupid. Minho watched the Veltari Armada appear on his sensors. He opened a channel that broadcast to both the human fleet and the Veltari. Counselor Treshavan, Minho said. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. Leave this system and there will be no further bloodshed. Treshavan's laugh echoed through the communication channel. You think your 200 ships can stand against my Armada? Your arrogance is astounding. It's not arrogance, Minho replied. It's a fact. You taught us well. You showed us every weakness in your tactics, every flaw in your technology, every mistake born of your arrogance. Enough talk, Treshavan snarled. All ships open fire. The Veltari Armada launched their weapons. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human fleet. It should have been instant annihilation. The human ships activated their dimensional fold drives. They flickered out of existence and reappeared scattered throughout the enemy formation. The Veltari weapons struck empty space where targets had been milliseconds before. What happened? Treshavan demanded. Where did they go? Sir, they're inside our formation. They're everywhere. The human fleet attacked with devastating precision. Each ship targeted specific systems on enemy vessels. Engines, shield generators, weapon systems. They didn't destroy ships. They disabled them. One after another, Veltari warships went dark and drifted in space, their crews alive but helpless. Lieutenant Hyun Kang piloted his fighter through the chaos. At 25 years old, he was one of the youngest pilots in the fleet. But his skills were undeniable. His fighter weaved between massive Veltari ships too fast and small for their weapons to track. This is easier than the simulations, Hyun reported. Their targeting systems can't handle our speed. Stay focused, his squadron leader warned. Maintain formation and disable, don't destroy. Hyun targeted a cruiser's engine core and fired a precise burst. The engine shut down cleanly. The ship was out of the fight, but the crew was unharmed. On Treshavan's flagship, alarms blared from every station. Sir, we've lost 40% of our fleet capability. They're not destroying our ships. They're surgically disabling them. Focus fire, Treshavan ordered desperately. All ships target one enemy vessel at a time. A dozen Veltari warships concentrated their fire on a single human destroyer. The combined energy should have vaporized it instantly. Instead, the ship phased through the beams. The weapons passed harmlessly through space where solid matter should have been. Their weapons phased through our shields, Minho explained on the open channel. Your defensive technology was designed to stop solid projectiles and energy beams. It doesn't account for weapons that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The battle lasted 8 hours. By the end, 4,000 Veltari ships floated dead in space. Only a few hundred managed to jump away, including Treshavan's damaged flagship. The human fleet hadn't lost a single ship. Minho broadcast a message that was transmitted to every world in the galaxy. Let this serve as notice to the Galactic Assembly. Humanity will no longer tolerate mockery or exploitation. We didn't seek this conflict, but we will finish it. On the surface of Keras Prime, Soman's teams withdrew from the defense facilities. They left behind data cores containing evidence of Veltari cruelty toward other species, war crimes, oppression, exploitation, all documented and ready for the galaxy to see. The sky above Keras Prime remained dark as human ships maintained their position, not as conquerors but as a message. The age of Veltari dominance was over. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity had just defeated the most powerful military force in known space. They had done it decisively and with minimal bloodshed. The primitive species from Earth had shown the galaxy something it had never expected to see. Admiral Jiwan received reports from all 12 systems. All objectives achieved. Total human casualties, 3 injured, none killed. Enemy casualties, minimal. All target worlds secured. She allowed herself a small smile. Send word to Earth. Operation Eclipse Phase 1 is complete. Moving to Phase 2. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The Galactic Assembly chamber was half empty. Dozens of delegates had fled to their homeworlds when news of the human victory reached them. Those who remained sat in shocked silence as holographic displays showed the aftermath of the Battle of Keras Expanse. 4,000 disabled Veltari warships, not destroyed. Disabled. The precision was terrifying. High Chancellor Cormac stood at his podium trying to maintain control of the situation. His reptilian face showed stress for the first time in his long career. Around him, delegates argued and shouted over each other. They must be stopped, declared the delegate from the Norvan Collective. If they can defeat the Veltari, no one is safe. Perhaps we should negotiate, suggested a smaller species representative. They clearly have capabilities we underestimated. Negotiate? Cormac hissed. They have attacked 12 systems. They have humiliated the galaxy's greatest military power. We cannot show weakness. At that moment, the main doors to the chamber opened. Diplomat Hajun Kim walked in, flanked by 2 human guards. He walked slowly to the center platform where he had stood 6 months earlier asking for respect. This time no one laughed. Honored delegates, Hajun said quietly. I bring terms from Earth. You dare come here with demands? Cormac said. You are in violation of every galactic law. We followed your laws for 50 years, Hajun replied. It gained us nothing but contempt, so now we write new laws. He activated a holographic display. These are Earth's terms. Equal representation in this assembly, fair trade agreements with no exploitative tribute requirements, and reparations for 5 decades of systematic humiliation. Reparations, a delegate shouted. You attack us and demand we pay you? We defended ourselves against a system designed to keep us powerless, Hajun said. The evidence of Veltari war crimes against other species is now public. We found it on Keras Prime. How many other species here have suffered under similar oppression but were too weak to resist? Silence followed his words. Several smaller species delegates looked at each other. They knew he was right. This is outrageous, Cormac declared. We will form a coalition. The entire galaxy against Earth, you cannot stand against all of us. Is that your choice? Hajun asked. Because we hoped you would choose wisdom instead. While the assembly debated, human operations continued across the galaxy. 7 more species that had mocked Earth now found human fleets at their borders. The ships didn't attack. They simply appeared. Waited. A silent message of capability and restraint. On the frontier world of Toran's Gate, pilot Daeho Shin conducted reconnaissance deep in hostile territory. His stealth ship was nearly invisible to conventional sensors. He observed a meeting between several species discussing their response to human expansion. They're terrified, Daeho reported back to command. But more than that, some of them are hoping humanity will protect them from the traditional powers. Admiral Jiwan received this intelligence with interest. They're starting to understand. We're not here to conquer. We're here to restructure the power dynamic. On Earth, Dr. Yuna Choi addressed a press conference. Citizens from every nation watched as she explained the scientific achievements that had made their victory possible. For 50 years, We developed technology in secret, Una said. Not because we planned for war, but because we needed to be ready if peace failed. Dimensional folding. Advanced AI coordination. Weapon systems that phase between realities. We achieved what the galaxy said was impossible, because we refused to accept their limitations. The press conference was broadcast across the galaxy. Many species watched in stunned silence as this young human scientist casually discussed technology that surpassed their own by generations. Back at the assembly, Cormix had made his decision. I am calling for the formation of the Grand Alliance. Any species willing to stand against human aggression should commit their forces. Over the next week, 36 species pledged their military forces. Combined, they represented hundreds of thousands of warships, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They would crush the human threat once and for all. The Grand Alliance gathered at Torrens Gate. Their fleet was massive, overwhelming. They had numbers that should make victory certain. Admiral G1 watched the enemy fleet assemble from her flagship. Her expression was sad rather than triumphant. They still don't understand, she said to Minho, who stood beside her on the bridge. They think this is about ships and weapons. Should we try one more time to negotiate? Minho asked. Send them the offer, Admiral G1 ordered. But I don't think they'll accept. The message was broadcast to the Grand Alliance. Withdraw now. There doesn't need to be bloodshed. We don't want to destroy you. We want to rebuild this galaxy into something better. The Alliance commander, a massive insectoid warrior named Vextor, responded immediately. You are outnumbered 40-1. This ends now. The Grand Alliance attacked. What followed was the most complex space battle in recorded history. Human ships used tactics that seemed impossible. Their AI-assisted coordination allowed them to function as a single organism. They appeared in multiple places simultaneously using dimensional jumps. They targeted enemy vessels with surgical precision. Una's technology had been refined even further. Human ships could now create localized gravity wells that disrupted enemy formations. They could generate phantom fleet signatures that appeared on sensors as real ships. The Alliance spent valuable time and ammunition firing at illusions. The battle lasted 8 hours. By the end, the Grand Alliance was shattered. Ships scattered in retreat. Others surrendered. Some simply drifted in space, disabled but intact. The human fleet had been outnumbered 40-1. They hadn't lost a single ship. Vextor's flagship was disabled in the final hour. He stood on his bridge surrounded by failing systems and looked at the human vessel approaching. He expected death. Instead, a communication channel opened. Admiral G1 appeared on his screen. Commander Vextor, she said. Your crew will be returned safely to your homeworld. Your ship will be repaired. We're not here to destroy you. Then what do you want? Vextor asked with confusion. We want you to understand something very important, Admiral G1 said. We could have destroyed every ship in your fleet. We chose not to. We have shown mercy not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to choose mercy. The broadcast went out to every surviving ship, every homeworld, every species in the galaxy. Surrender now and join a new galactic order, one based on equality and respect, or continue fighting and face extinction. The choice is yours, the response was immediate. 17 species from the Grand Alliance requested immediate peace talks. Another 12 offered complete surrender. The rest simply stopped fighting. On the Veltari homeworld, Treshavan watched the footage of the battle. His empire was broken. His fleet was destroyed. His pride was shattered. He sat in his personal chambers and realized the truth. Humanity hadn't just defeated them militarily. They had proven that the entire galactic order was built on a false foundation. The galaxy had valued physical strength, long lifespans, and advanced starting technology. They had missed what made humanity dangerous: adaptability, unity, the ability to innovate under pressure, the wisdom to learn from others and improve upon their methods. And most important, the moral strength to show mercy when vengeance would have been easier. Hajun stood once more in the assembly chamber. This time the delegates listened in respectful silence. Earth proposes the dissolution of this assembly, he said. In its place we will create something new. A true council where every species has a voice, where decisions are made based on merit, not military might, where young civilizations are mentored instead of exploited. And what if we refuse? Cormix asked quietly. Then you remain in the past while the rest of the galaxy moves forward. Hajun replied. Your choice. The vote was held 1 week later. Only 5 species voted against the dissolution. The rest understood that the old order was finished. A new age had begun. Admiral Jiwan transmitted her final battle report to Earth. Mission complete. Total enemy casualties less than 1%. Human casualties minimal. The galaxy is ready for change. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets, not because they had won a war, but because they had finally earned the respect they had sought for 50 years. Minho stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable, looking out at the stars. Yuna joined him carrying 2 cups of coffee. Do you think they'll really change? Yuna asked. Some will, Minho said. Others will resist. But we've shown them what's possible. The rest is up to them. And us? Minho smiled. We make sure the new order is worth the price we paid for it. Across the galaxy, the sky had turned dark above dozens of worlds, not with destruction but with the presence of human ships, a reminder that the age of casual cruelty was over, that strength without wisdom was no longer acceptable, that even the smallest, youngest species could reshape the galaxy if they had the courage to try. The Assembly's reckoning was complete. Now came the harder work of building something better from the ruins. 1 year had passed since the first eclipse. The massive orbital station above neutral space was new, built with resources contributed by 40 species. It was 3 times larger than the old assembly hall and designed with a different philosophy. Every species had equal space. Every delegation sat at the same level. There were no positions of dominance, no platforms for the powerful to look down on the weak. Ambassador Minho Park walked through the corridors of what was now called Unity Station. He wore formal diplomatic attire, though the scars of command still showed in his eyes. He had been elected by unanimous vote as Earth's High Representative. The same species that had mocked him now sought his counsel. He entered the main chamber where delegates were gathering for the day's session. The atmosphere was completely different from the old assembly. There was still disagreement and debate, but the mockery was gone. The casual cruelty had been replaced by something that resembled actual cooperation. Chancellor Ha-Joon Kim stood at the central podium. Not High Chancellor, just Chancellor, one among equals. He had been chosen to lead the new council not because Earth demanded it, but because the member species recognized his wisdom. Today we address the petitions for membership from 4 species newly discovered by the Norvan Collective, Ha-Joon announced. Under the old system, they would have been classified as protectorates. Under our new laws, they will be welcomed as full members if they meet the basic criteria of sapience and peaceful intent. A delegate from the Norvan Collective rose. She was the same one who had questioned humanity's worth a year earlier. Now she spoke with careful respect. These species are young. Their technology is limited. But we have learned that youth and limitation do not determine value. We recommend immediate acceptance. The vote was unanimous. 4 new species joined the galactic community as equals rather than subjects. After the session, Minho met with Admiral Jiwan Lee in a private conference room. She now held the title of Supreme Commander of the Peacekeeping Forces. Her fleet no longer prepared for war. Instead, it protected developing species from exploitation and responded to emergencies across the galaxy. How are the transition operations going? Minho asked. Remarkably well, Admiral Jiwan replied. 70% of our combat fleet has been converted to peacekeeping and humanitarian roles. We've helped evacuate 6 worlds facing natural disasters. We've mediated 3 territorial disputes, and we've protected 2 developing species from hostile incursions. And the combat-ready ships? Maintained and ready just in case, Admiral Jiwan said. We proved we can show mercy, but we also proved we can defend ourselves if needed. The galaxy respects both truths. In another part of the station, Dr. Yuna Choi gave a lecture to scientists from 20 different species. The Institute of Collaborative Sciences was her achievement, a place where the galaxy's greatest minds work together without hierarchy or competition. Dimensional folding technology is now available to all member species, Yuna explained. We're not keeping it secret. We're sharing it freely because an advanced galaxy benefits everyone, not just Earth. A Veltari scientist raised a tentacle. Why? You gained advantage through this technology. Why give it away? Because advantage based on keeping others weak is not real strength, Yuna said. Real strength comes from making everyone stronger. If we all advance together, We can achieve things no single species could accomplish alone. The lecture hall was quiet as the assembled scientists absorbed this philosophy. It was so different from the old way, so strange and yet so obviously correct. On the Veltari homeworld, a trial was taking place. Counselor Treshavan stood before a tribunal facing charges of war crimes and systematic oppression of other species. The evidence was overwhelming. Documents found on Karis Prime and other Veltari worlds showed decades of cruelty and exploitation. The judges were a mix of species: human, Veltari, and others who had suffered under the old system. Treshavan could have been sentenced to death. Instead, the tribunal showed mercy. "You are guilty," declared the lead judge. "But we have learned from humanity that revenge is not justice. You will serve 20 years working to repair the damage your policies caused. You will use your knowledge and skills to help the species you once exploited. Perhaps in that service you will find redemption." Treshavan accepted the sentence with a bowed head. He had expected death and received a chance at redemption instead. The irony was not lost on him. Later he met with Minho in a private holding room. "Why?" Treshavan asked. "I humiliated you. I tried to keep your species powerless. I led fleets to destroy you. Why show mercy?" Minho sat across from him and considered the question carefully. "Because we understand something important. You weren't evil. You were a product of a flawed system. You genuinely believed your species' superiority because everyone around you reinforced that belief. Breaking that system required force, but maintaining the new system requires forgiveness." "I don't deserve it," Treshavan said quietly. "Maybe not," Minho agreed, "but we're giving it anyway. Because if we can't forgive, we're just creating the next cycle of hatred and violence. Someone has to choose to break that cycle." Treshavan looked at the human who had defeated him so completely. "Your species is strange, confusing, but perhaps that strangeness is what we needed." Across the galaxy, the changes continued. Minor species that had been exploited for centuries now thrived under the new order. The protocols of equality were enforced not by one species, but by collective agreement. Any species found exploiting another faced immediate intervention from the peacekeeping forces. On a frontier world, a young alien child watched human ships pass overhead. She tugged on her parents' arm and asked a question. Why was Earth ridiculed? They seemed so capable. The parent, a member of a species that had once mocked humanity, knelt down to answer, "Because we were fools, little one. We looked at them and saw only what we wanted to see. We judged them by our standards instead of trying to understand theirs. We mistook patience for weakness and kindness for stupidity. But they won. They proved everyone wrong. Yes, but more importantly, they showed us how to be better. They didn't just defeat us. They taught us that victory without mercy is hollow, that strength without wisdom is dangerous, that real power comes from lifting others up, not keeping them down." The child watched the ships disappear into the sky. "I want to be like them when I grow up." "Then learn their lessons," the parent said. "And maybe your generation will build something even better than what they've started." Back on Unity Station, the council session was ending for the day. Hajun addressed the assembled delegates one final time. "I've been asked to share news from Earth. The monument to the victims of the old system has been completed. It bears the names of every being from every species who suffered under policies of exploitation and cruelty. The inscription reads, 'We remember. We learned. We will not repeat.'" He paused and looked around the chamber. "That is our promise to the galaxy. Not just from Earth, but from all of us. We will remember what was wrong. We will learn from those mistakes. And we will not allow them to be repeated." The delegates rose in a moment of silence. Some of them had personally benefited from the old system. Others had suffered under it. Now they stood together, acknowledging the past and committing to a better future. After the session, Minho, Admiral Jiwan, Hajun, and Yuna met on an observation deck overlooking the planet below. They had all carried the weight of leading humanity through its greatest challenge. Now they watched the fruits of their efforts. "Do you think it will last?" Yuna asked. "Some of it will fail," Hajun said honestly. "Humans and aliens alike will make mistakes. There will be conflicts and setbacks. But the foundation is solid," Admiral Jiwan added. "We proved that force can be used to protect rather than dominate. The technology should be shared rather than hoarded. That strength and mercy are not opposites." Minho watched ships from dozens of species moving through the space lanes below. Trade vessels, science ships, diplomatic shuttles, all moving freely in a galaxy that was slowly learning to cooperate. They ridiculed us for too long, he said softly. We didn't darken their skies for conquest. We did it to show them the darkness of their own hearts, so they could finally see the light. That sounds poetic, Yuna said with a smile. Did you prepare that? Maybe a little, Minho admitted. But it's true. We held up a mirror to the galaxy. We forced them to see what they had become. Arrogant, cruel, stagnant. And then we showed them an alternative. The hard part comes now, Hajun said. Maintaining this new order will require constant effort. There will always be species that want to return to the old ways, that believe in hierarchy and dominance. Then we'll remind them why those ways failed, Admiral G1 said firmly. Not with weapons if we can avoid it. But we maintain the capability to defend what we've built. They stood together in comfortable silence. 4 humans who had helped reshape galactic civilization. 4 people who understood that their work was far from finished. On Earth, celebrations continued. The day of the first eclipse had been declared a holiday. Not a celebration of war, but a remembrance of the moment humanity stood up for itself and changed everything. Children learned about the 50 years of patience, the secret preparations, the perfect execution, and most importantly, the mercy,